One day, I was browsing the university bulletin board in the student union, and I saw a picture of a bike posted on the board with big black letters above it, free. I went closer to read the flyer, and it said nearly new Trek domain e-bike perfect for small riders and women. I recognized it as a top bike brand and way out of my price range, and someone was giving it away for free. I'm a small girl. It looked the perfect size for me, and with the e-bike, I could quickly get around Waterville, where Colby College is located. I couldn't believe someone was giving it away for free, probably a girl with too much money and graduating in June. I snapped up the flyer and would call when I got back to the dorm after class. As soon as I was in my room, I messaged the number on the flyer asking for details and if it was really free and where and when I could pick it up. I got a message back in minutes saying it was free. It's in perfect condition, only ridden a few times. It's a strong bike, but will fit a small girl best. I responded that I was extra small, which is why the electric motor would be fantastic. He said, "You'll love it." I asked for an address and time, for which he sent GPS coordinates, and he said Saturday at 5 o'clock. How the heck was I to find satellite coordinates? I wrote back, "Don't you have a street address I can find?" He again wrote he lives in a cabin in the woods, and there is no mailbox or address on the road. It's easier to find the path to the cabin by GPS coordinates. There is an app you can use, and it's really simple. I reluctantly agreed, but I should have seen this as a big red flag. I downloaded the app he recommended to my phone, and on Saturday afternoon, I went to pick up the bike. The coordinates took me way out of Waterville, deep into the main woods, at least 40 minutes from town. And as I got closer, it was nothing but woods on both sides of the road. The GPS said I was still 2 minutes away when it indicated no road to my right. I stopped the car and messaged the guy that the GPS had messed up, and I was somewhere in the middle of nowhere. He responded, "Yes, that's correct. Park there and follow the GPS. It's a short walk through the woods. You will see the cabin after a minute, maybe two. I'm here waiting for you." The trail is hard to find, but don't let that worry you. The GPS will take you exactly to the house. I'm waiting with the bike. I reluctantly entered the woods, following the GPS. If it wasn't such a great bike, I'd have just gone home. After walking through dense woods for a few minutes, I didn't see any cabin. So I messaged the guy saying, "I think I'm lost." He didn't answer, and my phone was showing no bars. Even the GPS wasn't working. So I turned around and made my way back to my car, super bummed I couldn't find the cabin and the e-bike. I was starting to worry as the woods were beginning to get dark as the sun was setting. I only walked 2 minutes in, but it felt like 15, trying to find my way out to the road. I was so happy to see it through the trees and sighed in relief. But my heart sank when I walked up to my car. The tires had been slashed, and it was sitting on its rims. Who would have done this? Shot through my mind. Instantly, I knew I had been sent into a trap. My first instinct was to jump into the car and lock the doors, but I hesitated just a minute, and that was enough for me to detect that someone was crouched down behind the driver's seat. I may be small, but I can run like the wind, and that is what I did. I ran as fast and as far as I could. As I ran, I heard the car door open and slam shut. I turned and looked over my shoulder and saw a man dart into the woods. In a mile, I had cell reception, and I dialed 911 and hid in the woods. In about 10 minutes, I heard a siren, and I stepped out into the road to flag down the cruiser. He took me to my car, and I told him about the flyer on campus, the e-bike I had come to pick up, and the man hiding in my car. A towing service arrived and took my car to a tire dealer, where my tires were replaced. The man with the e-bike ruse was never found. I suspect he is still out there stalking unsuspecting college girls. Hello, have you ever been attacked by someone for no reason? I was, and it was a chilling nightmare I'll never forget. Here is my story. I was a senior at Fairfield University, and this was a couple of years back, but the event of one fall night still haunts me. I lived with my friends in a beach house, which was the thing to do as seniors at Fairfield. We rented it for the winter, and the landlord used it in the summer as his beach house for his family. It was a perfect deal for us as the university had a shuttle bus from the school to the beach in town. There were a lot of kids renting on the beach, so it was a blast. Even in winter, the beach is great. But this story was during the fall semester. I was a cycling enthusiast, so I rode my bike to the university and back to the beach on nice days to blow off steam after an exam. I'd also go out on longer rides, and in Fairfield County, there were lots of nice, quiet roads to cycle. One November night, just after dark, I was stressed and decided to go for a night ride. I know that isn't the safest thing to do, but I had reflective gear on my shoes, jacket, and helmet, and my bike had lights. Besides, the route I often take is a pretty quiet road with not much traffic. It's sparsely populated with houses and goes through some beautiful woods and fields. It's 7 miles to my turnaround point and back the same route for an excellent 14-mile exercise. I've ridden this course many times. I was out about at the 5-mile mark going through a wooded area when I heard a rustling on the left side of the road. I glanced over and saw some bushes move and thought that I had spooked a deer. I still pushed down harder on the pedals to distance myself from the spot. Another 100 yards up the road, I looked back over my shoulder, and all was still. In 20 minutes, I reached my turnaround and headed back. The way back was slightly downhill, so I was making excellent time and was back to the point that I had heard the bushes rustle in less than 13 minutes. As I passed the bush, my helmet was struck from the back so hard it made stars flash before my eyes. In shock, I nearly lost consciousness. My bike wobbled out of control for another 30 feet before I crashed into the embankment. My leg, arm, and hand had road rash with blood coming to the skin surface, and everything stung. I looked up the road and saw a grisly man holding a large stick. He stood in the shadow, but I still could see his teeth through a thick black beard. His eyes met mine in a gaze that drilled into me. Before I could comprehend what had happened, I saw him take 2 big steps in my direction. I sprang to my feet and ran, pushing my bike as I flung my foot over my seat and pumped the pedal as hard as possible. I hadn't gone 15 feet when a colossal crack struck the back of my helmet. Stars flashed again in my eyes as I glanced to my left and saw a baseball-sized rock skid down the center of the road. A second later, another rock bounced on my right side. I pushed the pedals with all my strength. I got back to the beach house, still in complete shock but safe. I called the police, and they said they would send a patrol out and check the area. I never heard back. For the rest of the year, I only rode to the university and back, and never after dark. I'm from Lawrence, Massachusetts, and this happened to me just after my 10th birthday. This still freaks me out, and I'm 18 now. Thanks to my mom, I was taught stranger danger at a young age. If I hadn't, I might not be here to tell this story. My school was less than a half-mile from my house, and the streets were residential the whole way. Most of the time, kids would walk together as a group, not because we were told or for safety or anything like that, but because it was fun. Our neighborhood was typical suburban Boston, and for the most part, very safe. Parents gave us instructions and all, but they weren't super worried either. My mom grew up in our neighborhood and went to the same school I was going to, so she was comfortable with us walking to school and home. All the kids did it, and like I said, we were usually in a gang, and my brother was usually with us, and he is 2 years older. For my birthday, September 28th, I was given a bike. I could already ride pretty well using my brother's old bike, but this was my first bike that was all mine and brand new. It was pink and had a basket. It was so much nicer than my brother's old bike, which was camouflage green. Well, the next day after my birthday, I begged to ride my bike to school, and Mom said, "Sure, just watch for cars." I was so proud of my new bike, which was super fast, or at least super fast to the old bike. I wore a matching paint jacket to complement my bike. I was Barty on a bike. Everyone at school looked at my bike in the bike rack at lunch and admired it. I was in heaven as the center of attention with my birthday gift. I was so happy to tell Mom how everyone loved my bike and how much I loved it that when the bell rang to go home, I shot out of the building, ran to my bike, and raced off. All the other kids were still in the building when I pulled onto the street. I hadn't gone more than halfway when the chain got stuck between two gears. It just locked up and wouldn't pedal. I got off and tried to fix it, but the pedal didn't budge. It still rolled, so I started to walk it the rest of the way home. I hadn't gone far when a big silver pickup truck stopped, and a man with a big smile said, "Hey, kiddo, having some trouble?" I said, "My bike's broken, but I'm fine." He smiled and said, "You're sure a cute little thing. Here, let me help you." And with that, he gets out of the truck and comes over and just takes my bike and puts it in the bed of his truck and says, "Hop in, and I'll take you home." Well, I knew better than to get into that truck, so I said, "Please give me my bike back. I can walk it." I said it as nicely and politely as I could, but I was angry he had just taken my new bike and put it into his truck without asking. He replied, "I'm saving you the effort of pushing that bike. Why don't you hop in like a good little girl and tell me where you live?" I was tired, and I was anxious to get home to tell my mom about my bike at school and all, so I considered getting in. Still, I remembered Mom saying never ever get in a car with a stranger. My birthday present was my pride and joy, and if that man stole it from me now, I'd undoubtedly cry, but I would not get into that truck. I'd ride my brother's old bike. I decided to just walk home without it. The man got into his truck and kept pace with me, and as I walked, he kept talking to me, saying, "Come on, sweet thing, let me give you a ride home," and things like that. I just walked, not looking at him. I tried to completely ignore him. He continued, "We could have so much fun in the truck. Climb in, sweetie." When I finally arrived home, my mother was in the driveway, bringing in groceries. I started crying and telling her some creep stole my bike. As she bent to console me, we both were shocked by a big clatter of metal crashing to the pavement in front of the house. We both looked up and saw my new birthday bike lying in the center of the street. And the creep was giving us the finger and yelling, "You little tease, I'll get you next time." My mom called the police with a description of the truck, but they never found him.
Subscribe.